Hello and welcome to the very first episode of a weekly review. And I'm going to look through selected stories from Irish papers over the last week. So we're just going to get right into it. The very first one is from the Irish Daily Mail, and this is from last Tuesday. This is a story. It says security chiefs urge Harris to move into Farmley in Phoenix Park. Okay, so this is a story about a bomb threat that was made against Taoiseach Simon Harris, and his security advisors told him that for his own safety he should move to a more secure location. I think he lives somewhere in Wicklow, and so this is this story. The headline underneath the subheading: Advisors double down on plan to house Taoiseach in Phoenix Park after bomb threat and worrying rise in protests. Okay, so yeah, there was a bomb threat made against him. So this is very worrying. He refused to move. He said he didn't want to disturb his family life. And for me personally, if somebody was making bomb threats against my family, I would definitely move to a more secure location. I don't think it's worth the risk if it's a serious risk. So it's a strange thing that he decided that this is a front page story, and that he decided not to move, or at the moment anyway. So that's a strange thing. It just reminds me of a story a few weeks ago that was about a former Taoiseach, Leo Varadkar, and we were told that there was an assassination plot to kill him. That was a very strange story. I didn't believe that story at all. This one, I believe that there was a threat made against a bomb threat made against Simon Harris. All right, how serious was that threat? I don't know. But if it was a serious threat, then he should move his family. It would make sense. So but what I think with this story, the reason why I selected this story is because I think there's a larger um, kind of a story arc going through the papers and the media in Ireland that are demonizing people that have concerns about what's happening in Ireland at the moment, and that this story kind of plays in. The reason why I selected this story is because it plays in with the other stories that I've selected. Okay, so I'll just go to the next page on that, and it just says the next one. Yeah, a round of arrests would do no harm is the heading there. And so I think that's something that what I think is going to happen in the future is that possibly political opponents, people who are going to be labeled as far right, they're going to use they're going to basically use this whip up kind of hysteria against people who are Irish people who are who want to stand against this mass uncontrolled immigration to Ireland, which would lead to the death of the nation. Um, and they're going to probably use that to make political arrests. And so this story, it's just I don't know about it. It seems I don't know how serious that bomb threat is. If it was serious, he should really have moved his family, without a doubt. Um, Now the next story is the clashes break out. This is a story about this is a horrific event. This happened last Tuesday, I believe, in Southend in the UK, where three girls were murdered by a knife man. I think seven or eight others were put into in hospital intensive care, and two adults at the same time. So this is the most horrific thing that can happen in any society. This nearly happened in Ireland last November, where some children were stabbed. One of them very badly, and ended up, as far as I know, still in. I don't know what happened to that child. We're told that she is alive, but I haven't heard anything about that story since, so I don't know anything about what has happened to her. But this is horrific. This one was worse because he actually did, he killed three children, and he put seven or eight more into hospital. So but the reason why I'm selecting this story is it's the way that it's been reported. This is from the Irish Independent on Wednesday. This is the way it's reported. So this is the most horrific event thing that can really happen, and this is how they report on it. So clashes break out at mosque as three girls killed at dance class are named. Okay, so they leave with the clashes break out at the mosque. Okay, now, and then subheading: Unruly mob of far-right protesters set fire to police van in Merseyside. So already they're focusing not on the actual heinous crime of murdering these children, they're focusing on the response, which is always going to be extreme, because this is such an extreme thing to happen. So people are in that area are going to get emotional and upset, and some people are going to just be going to take advantage of it to cause havoc. But most people, I would imagine, are just this is it's a it's such an extreme thing to happen that the response is going to be extreme as well. But this is how they lead with it. Listen to this. The very first paragraph. Police clashed with an unruly crowd of far-right protesters outside a mosque last night in northwest England, near where three girls were stabbed to death in a dance class as demonstrators, some in masks, hurled bottles and stones at officers. Okay, as Merseyside police said. Okay, so that's how they lead with it. They don't lead about the story of the knife man who killed, these children, wounded, severely wounded other people, other children. They lead with the riot afterwards. And they did the same in Ireland, by the way, last November. Exactly the same thing. Children were stabbed, and we heard nothing, and have heard nothing about those children since. For, the riots that happened afterwards, because the media are demonized it, and then people kind of people who can't think for themselves go along with it and say, like, okay, it's the rioters, what they did was a very bad thing, but the stabbing of the children, that's secondary to the rioting. I really think it's the other way around. I'm not condoning public disorder or violence like this. I'm just saying that it's not the primary. It's not it's understandable to a certain extent, although I don't condone it, but it is it's a response, an extreme response to an extreme situation. Now, the next paragraph then, police said the crowd was believed to be supporters of the English Defence League, a far-right group, and the unrest was inspired by speculation about the teenage boy arrested in a stabbing that injured 10 other people, including 7 who were in critical condition. So 7 children in critical condition, 3 dead, and they lead with the response to riots that happened afterwards, and the demonising of the people, that are upset by this. And then, but the rest of the article does go on to kind of focus on the children and what happened, and the other kind of other responses. But it's just an interesting. This is the psychological warfare that's happening. It's happening in our, the response to these extreme events is that basically they're setting it up so that anybody who doesn't agree with immigration is far right, and anybody who is they basically they're demonizing the native population for the response of having 3 children murdered and 7 in intensive care, and they're demonizing the locals, the native people who are responding to it. And that's kind of the tone. It's the psychological warfare, it's the spiritual warfare, and the media are the main instrument in that at the moment. So the next one then is that was the Irish Independent there from last Wednesday. This is the Irish Independent again, and this is from Thursday, and this is about the Great Replacement theory. So this theory going around that that if you believe you're a far right bigoted conspiracy theorist, that that native Irish population is being replaced by a foreign born population. It says 1/5 of Irish voters believe the government is using immigration to replace them. Okay, so 1/5. Now I'm just going to read this. So the public question and divisive issues at the recent elections. Okay, so a new survey has revealed a significant number of Irish voters believe conspiracy theories concerning immigration. So immediately they're setting you up. They're saying, like, if you believe this, you're a conspiracy theorist, and that means you're believing in lies, basically. So that's the very first paragraph. Your concerns are completely unwarranted, even though anybody can see that we've accepted that statistically, we have over 1 million people that living in the Republic right now who were not born here. Their children are going to, the next generation of them, they will be a massive, massive percentage of people, possibly getting over 50% or around 50%. So, and then the generation after that, they will actually outnumber Irish people if it continues like this. So within however many years, it could be 20 years, it could be 30 or 40 years, Irish people will actually be a minority in their own country. But if you believe that, even though that's on course to happen, statistically you just can't deny it, or the probability can't be denied. It's just happening. But if you believe it, you're believing lies, even though it's happening. So this is so an opinion poll carried out by the Electoral Commission found that 1/5, 22% believe politicians want more immigrants to bring in obedient voters, in quotes, who would support them in future elections. Is that an unreasonable opinion? If you look at our politicians, do they want to bring in voters who will vote for them? How do you do that? You bring in loads of people, you give them loads of free stuff, you tell them to vote for me. It's happening all over every democracy in the Western world, as far as I can tell. So, but once again, even though it's happening, if you believe it, you're far right conspiracy theorist and you're a bad person. Okay. If you believe the truth, you're a bad person. Um, so and then it says so about 3,000 people were surveyed for this, and they said they believe that the establishment, once again in quotes, the political and establishment, was replacing white Irish people with non-white immigrants. Okay, so once again, even though it's happening, if you believe it, you're a bad person. Okay, so just some other interesting questions or interesting findings. So almost a third, 30%, agreed when asked whether a secret group is responsible for making major decisions in the world of politics. Once again, not an unreasonable opinion to think like that. There's some secret group, that are, putting their own business interests possibly ahead of the welfare of the people, and influencing politicians. But it seems fairly reasonable. But once again, not allowed to think like that. Okay, it's bad. And 31% believe there are hidden efforts to destroy or marginalize certain people through political policies. And then the majority, 59% of people, agreed that the government were keeping many important secrets from the public. So even though, yeah, I would say that that's true. Easily, they're keeping a lot of secrets from us. And then further down it, near the end of the article, this is interesting, okay? It's just the way that they phrase the language. They're so biased in the Irish media against Irish people and uh, um, or people who are right of centre, like genuinely right of centre, not the fake guys who are pretending to be right of centre in politics, but really are just, becoming more and more left wing every day. So it says here nearly half, 48% of people surveyed said asylum seekers should have the right to the same social services as Irish people. Okay, so so nearly half, 48%. But another way to phrase that would be 52% of people, which is the majority, slim majority, believe that asylum seekers shouldn't have the same rights um, to social services as Irish people. Because that's how you like that would be the way to phrase that, I think, more. But it's the way the phrasing is done. It's showing their bias constantly against the people who think differently from the way that we're supposed to think, we're allowed to think according to the establishment. So now we're going to look at the Times. So this is just two headings here. This is the paper of repute in Ireland, the Times, and so the first one I just want to look at is this. It says the state is failing to meet asylum seekers' needs. Okay, so it just talks about. I'm not going to focus on this one. I'm going to focus on the one underneath it. But it says that basically that there's about 2,300 homeless asylum seekers in Ireland right now, and they're probably most of them are up in Dublin. You can see the 10 cities that are popping up there. Um, and there's been a legal action taken saying that the government has a responsibility to house these people. And I think that it was ruled in favour that the government is responsible to house these people anyway. So it's just that it's interesting. Why would a government take in thousands of asylum seekers just to make them homeless when we don't have room to take them? Excuse me, frog in my throat. We don't have room to take them. We have so many 13, 14, 15,000 Irish homeless. Many more people can't get houses, can't get apartments to live in or to rent, and yet we're taking in more and more and more. Okay, but there's nothing really wrong with that story as such. It's just that it's reporting the facts. But underneath it is a very strange story. Okay, now just keep in mind that heading. So the state is failing to meet asylum seekers' needs. Okay, so we don't have anywhere to put these people who are coming in. We don't have the housing for them. Okay. Now the next one says the U.S. neo-Nazis create posters for the Irish far right. This is an interesting headline. I thought, well, this could be a great story. What's going on here? So it says American extremists linked to a notorious neo-Nazi group have been creating propaganda material for Irish far-right activists aimed at driving support for anti-immigration protests. Okay, so it's implied that these people are connected, they're organized and connected, and they're in contact with one another, and they're working together. That's the implication. The posters and leaflets are directed towards Irish and American audiences and have been distributed online, okay, with instructions that they should be printed and displayed in public places. Okay, so now it seems like more like, okay, there's just these guys over in America are creating these posters and putting or leaflets, and then they're saying, to people download them and distribute them. So okay, maybe the connection's a bit shaky between the Irish far right and the and this group that they're naming in America. Okay, so some of the material was created and shared with Irish anti-immigration activists by U.S. nationals linked to the Goyim Defense League, the GDL, a network of neo-Nazis and white supremacists mainly focused on targeting Jewish people. Okay, uh, I think that this already, I'm starting to see what's happening here. This is some American group. They probably, I don't think they have any links with Ireland. I don't see it at the moment. Um, surely, okay, let's just read on. Okay. So one of the main tactics, one of the group's main tactics is to blanket an area with flyers and posters featuring extreme anti-Semitic imagery and conspiracy theories. Okay. So, and it's led by then John Minadio, who is, apparently he's known online for a series of racist and anti-Semitic stunts. Okay, so he's this Mr. Minadio is from California, has taken a keen interest in Irish anti-immigration protests in recent months, and has joined several online meetings with Irish far-right activists. Okay, so that's the link. So there's this apparently an extremist in California, and he has joined some online chat groups, and this is the front page of the of our paper of repute. Okay, so we can name the Irish or the American guy. Why don't we name the Irish far right activists? Who are they? Surely, if they're a significant threat, that we should know who they are. Why aren't they being named? I don't understand it. It seems to me that this is another just an attempt to demonize people who have legitimate concerns about immigration policy in Ireland, and linking them with this possibly extremists from America who I've never heard of, so I don't know I don't know anything about them. Okay. Now, but then it went on a bit further, okay, and it says Ireland right is hot right now. I mean, in some of these Ireland spaces, chatting with these youngsters. Okay, so the Irish far right are youngsters. That's who they are. They're basically these are teenagers probably. Uh, this guy is chatting online with teenagers, um, and that's I don't. So is this why you can't name the Irish far right? Are they teenagers? Okay. Anyway, it goes on. There's a bit more about it, and it doesn't say anything really that interesting. But it's very spurious, but it's on the front page of the Times, and it's once again it's just it's psychological warfare. It's linking people, and anybody who has any concerns about immigration is an extremist, a dangerous extremist. That's what it's implying. Okay, but it just says here, about the anti-immigration protests, and it says there's one hashtag. So this must be on the social media sites. One hashtag says Ireland is full, and they kind of that in online spaces, far right activists are using this Ireland is full, but at the same time, just above it, you can see that the state is failing to meet asylum seekers' needs. Why? We do not have housing for them. We have nowhere to put them. But at the same time, if you say Ireland is full, we have nowhere to put these people, you're a far right extremist. So it's insane. It's insane. This is really psychological warfare that's being waged against the Irish people right now, and I think it's happening in other countries too. But it's really the journalists are so disingenuous, that they really are just going full tilt at demonizing, people who are genuinely worried and concerned about what is happening to their communities and to Ireland. The last paper I'm going to look at is today's Sunday Independent, and just says 72% of people are back sending refugees to affluent areas. Now, this is I think that this is a bit facetious, because I'm sure that 72% probably are more that there was a poll done where about the same 70, 60, 70, 75% of people think we have taken in enough refugees. And the idea is like, by the government is putting them in all poor areas in cities or in rural areas. None of these centres are opening up. They're not, they're sticking hundreds of men in Coolock. They're not sticking hundreds of men in Foxrock, or Blackrock. because that's where they're from. They don't want them in their area. They want them in the poor areas. But I think that 72%, I'm sure that I'm sure that they're the same people who think that. Oh, uh, all right, lost power there for a second. Okay, so okay, yep, I'm back now. So those 72% of people are probably the same people, about 70% or so, who think we have taken in too many people, and they're just being a bit tongue in cheek with their answer that why don't we just send them to the rich areas rather than the poor areas. Now we're just going to look at inside today's Independent again, Sunday Independent. So they did a survey, and there's just some interesting things happening at the moment. So it's good that we're talking about immigration now, because but it's the tone of what we're doing. It's making the front pages more and more, but it's still that instead of it being treated in an honest way, it's the tone of it is still the framing of all the issues. It's still that if you disagree with this, you are a bad person. It's the same that happened during the COVID response. That anybody who questioned what was going on, anybody who questioned the efficacy of the pharmacia, anybody who questioned, the lockups, and the loss of freedoms and all that stuff. Anybody who did that, that was a bad person. And now, at the moment, it's the same thing with the immigration. Anybody who questions it, that makes it's not that, it's just they're just painting you as a bad person. Okay, so they did a survey, and there's four main issues. The main issue was housing at 48% that people were concerned with, and the second one at 35% was immigration. So they're linked, and the government and the media are trying to tell you, oh, they're not. They're completely separate issues. They're linked. You know what I mean? They're separate, but they're linked. One impacts the other dramatically. And then the third issue that was most important for people at 27% was cost of living. And then at 20%, 4 and 5, 20% is the rise of the far right, and 90% in healthcare. So the rise of the far right, 20%, that's the most concerning um, issue. And I can tell you that those people are all far left. They're like the extreme left, or the other side of the spectrum. I'm sure of it, because most people I don't think there is a far right in Ireland. It's like the last headline we looked at, and there, that if there's a far right in Ireland, why don't they name them? Why don't they just say that these guys are the far right? They're organized, they're dangerous. Because for me, far right is somebody who's going to use violence to take down a democratically elected government. That's far right. They're extremists, genuine extremists, not somebody who is actually just right of centre and believes in common sense and sensible immigration policies, sensible housing policies, etc., etc. And that's what's happening. Anybody who doesn't agree wholeheartedly and unquestioningly with the narrative that we're being given is being demonized and labeled as an extremist, and it's dangerous, because I think you will actually end up creating extremists by doing this. But before I finish, I'm just going to look at this. Just had a couple of questions in this survey. Uh, do you believe that this is a survey question? Do you believe that the media reporting on the refugee situation in Ireland is a balanced and fair reflection of the issues involved? So 35% say it's a balanced and fair reflection of what's going on, and that's down 5%. And then 46% believe that it's biased in favour of the refugees and against those with concerns, and that's up 4%. And then 20% think it's biased against refugees. So 46% of people think that the media reporting is biased in favor of refugees and asylum seekers and against concerns of uh, of people like myself. Now the next one. So do you think the next question was, do you think those who are opposed to the location of refugee centres across Ireland are predominantly far right agitators? And this far right thing is, again, for me, far right, there's right, you know what I mean? But far right is extreme. Like, for me, once again, these people are, when you use the term far right, I think that in my mind, that's an extremist who is willing to use violence. That's what I think. And I think that they're putting that idea in people's heads. They want you to think like, anybody, it's the same thing with they're just demonizing people who have legitimate concerns, call them far right, that makes them extremists, dehumanize them, and then we can, in the future, we can arrest these people as political enemies or enemies of the state. That's what I think is that's where this is going. Um, do you think that those who are opposed to the location of refugee centres across Ireland are predominantly far right? 47% say that they're predominantly far right agitators, while 48% say they're predominantly concerned local residents. So it's split, it's like 50-50. So, and uh, but I obviously think that that they're that if you've been to these places, where they're putting the centres in, some of them are, it'll be the death knell of that community. It's so, how could you call somebody, demonize that person for trying to stand up for their community? Um, and then it just asks, the next question then is, uh, has Ireland taken in too many refugees in the past year? And 62% say yes, and that's about 60. No, that's just that's about it's averaging between 62 and 75%. That's in these polls. That's, that we've taken in too many refugees. 24% say no, and then 40% are unsure. Okay, so that's it. Now, yeah, I think, like, it just shows that the majority of people are concerned, or do have concerns. Even in some places, it might be a slim majority, but the majority of people are concerned about what's actually happening regarding the immigration. But the political establishment are pushing ahead anyway with their suicidal immigration plan, which is just to accept everybody. Um, Regardless of if they're genuine or not. And the media and the political establishment are demonizing, what I can see is just ordinary people who are concerned about what's going on in their communities and in the country in general. So it's warfare. For me, it's like spiritual, psychological warfare. And it's like it does seem that even, I suppose it's just, we're living in a world where even though you can go into any town now in Ireland and you can see the massive demographic changes that are happening, and if you project, where is this going to lead in 5 and 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, uh, because it's uncontrolled, and where's it going to go? You can see, like, that it's leading to a bad situation for the future, for native Irish people in the future. And that, but if you say that, even though it's factually correct and true, if you say that, the media are demonizing you and trying to make you feel bad about it, just like they did during during the, the lockups and the scam pandemics and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So it's emotional manipulation, psychological warfare, spiritual warfare. So that's my review of this week's newspapers. Um, it's just an idea I had, and I'd probably be doing it again in the future. So I hope you enjoyed it, or you got something out of it. Maybe you didn't enjoy it because it's frightening what's actually happening for the people whose eyes are open. So look, I'll just leave it there, and God bless. Take care.